The entrance exam had 20,000 candidates. Only 100 made the final cut. The scoring was based on a combat, 5th place, a noble, 4th cane, another noble from one of the biggest families in the empire, 3rd, 2nd, all the same. But at the top stood a commoner, Lewis, from an orphanage, with 0 magic training. This girl is a genius, daughter of a grandmaster, trained since birth, and already casts magic at high level. So why is her face is completely messed up and her nose bleeding in the academy entrance exam? This fight was supposed to be easy for her, but when his eyes turned red for a split second, Faye didn't see a 13-year-old boy anymore, but a monster. Crazy to think that the person going through the biggest risk at that moment was actually the boy and not her. See, in this world, if you're born with black hair and dark eyes that turn red, they kill you before you can even cry. This kid's been hiding his real identity since the day he was born, and he just walked into the most elite magic academy in the empire, surrounded by people who would execute him on sight if they knew what he really was. The reason is that centuries ago, a genius appeared when humanity was enslaved by monsters. He invented arcane martial arts, freed the entire human race, and became known as the first hero. But here's the thing they don't celebrate on the holiday. That hero went insane, a curse consumed his mind, and he committed sins so unforgivable that they erased him from history entirely. Ever since then, anyone born with his features, black hair, dark eyes, gets killed at birth. Lewis' adoptive mother told him to dye his hair. That's the only reason he's still breathing. But hair dye doesn't fix what's inside him. The last person who carried this power freed all of humanity, and then became the most dangerous thing it ever faced. And this kid just unlocked it in a sparring match he wasn't even supposed to win. But rewind for a second, because in his previous life this kid couldn't even stand up. He was sick his whole life, couldn't fight, couldn't train, couldn't do anything, his body wouldn't let him. But he never let go of the obsession. He spent years studying combat, he literally got a PhD in martial arts science, then someone stole his research, and his own parents abandoned him, called him a useless leech. He wanted a second chance so badly that the universe actually gave him one. He woke up in a world where everything he studied in theory, he could finally do for real. Every dodge, every counter, every calculation he makes in a fight, that's not talent, that's a lifetime of obsession. Finally getting a body that works, and now he's standing at the entrance of the most elite academy in the empire. 20,000 candidates, only 20 spots. Every noble in that building wants him gone. If they find out his hair color, he gets killed. The curse inside him could wake up at any moment. And this kid? He promised his mom he'd buy her that orphanage. This is where everything starts. The nun asks if he brought all the required documents. She's freaking out because she heard some applicants actually die during the tests. The dad, on the other hand, isn't that worried? Because worst case, he just won't pull out, and hell, make another kid. That's the only academy in the northern region of the empire where commoners are even allowed to take the exams, founded by the Candria family. It's one of the best in this whole quadrant of the galaxy. Only a few privileged people get taught magic there, and they're trained by the best. Most of the famous mages who came from poor families graduated from that place. And the dad thinks it's the perfect environment for his son to learn too. Lewis says Julian's right. He wants to become a grandmaster, get strong as a tractor, and be able to buy the church's orphanage. The nun is happy about how selfless the kid is. And besides, the academy will probably rein in Lewis' hot-headed personality. He's grateful to his mom, since he's only alive because of her. Like any good ice guy, in his past life he wanted to be a fighter, but he was just a sickly kid. He never lost his passion for weird acrobatics and techniques that only work in movies. He took it so seriously he even got a PhD in it. But some jealous guy stole his research, and our boy couldn't do anything about it. Then his parents abandoned him, since they never liked that useless leech anyway. He wanted a second chance at life so badly that it actually happened at first. His hair color and eye color weirded everyone out. Even so, the nun decided to adopt him. She had free time and not many problems in her life. Lewis got his precious family, alongside Julian and the nun, who are probably a couple. On the down low, the problem is, they're commoners. And commoners get humiliated. Some mouthy jerk says it's way too bold for a commoner to dream of becoming a grandmaster. He should just accept his shitty life. The asshole purposely shoves the protagonist's mom, just for the fun of humiliating a poor person. Our boy immediately feels this massive urge to commit a crime rushing through his veins. But Julian reminds him he needs to focus on the exam, and the nun says he promised to stay out of trouble, so Louis apologizes because yeah, he really almost committed a crime. Now the bullies have to leave, since they pulled that humiliation hoping they'd get a beatdown. Another noble shows up, and this one, my friends, actually looks like a noble, the standard for any story. Blonde, skinny, calm expression. And of course, pale-skinned Louis thinks they're all the same and he's ready to wipe the floor with these guys. He promised he'd become a grandmaster and prove it to everyone because what he really wants is to protect what matters to him. Everyone else can go screw themselves, I don't know about you. But that's basically typical noble thinking. Another issue is that only 20 people usually pass the exam, and that year there are 20,000 candidates. Julian knows Louis is stubborn when he wants something. He gets it, and our boy quickly realizes he's one of the youngest kids there. A mage says the exam is about to start. He's the academy's director, and his name is Aronian. The background characters are amazed he's there, and our boy is thinking about the martial arts in that world, which involve magic. Grandmaster isn't the final level. He can still advance to sage and saint. The first challenge is climbing the stairs, guarded by veteran students. After that, they'll need to grab an item, but there are only 1,000 available. They give the signal to start. The extras are pissed. Everyone wants to move on to the next stage. But now it's time for the veterans to have some fun too. One of them already shows off his evil energy, cruelly crushing all the rushed, desperate nobodies. The poor guys are dropping unconscious. The ones who didn't make it up are terrified, because they don't even understand what kind of attack that was. Our protagonist knows it was just killing intent. It wasn't even an attack, just the dude's aura leaking out like a fart. Louis agrees that the ones who piss themselves in fear don't deserve to be there. The veteran notices our boy's got more balls than the rest, but there's no room for commoners here, no affirmative action or anything. So he's gonna make Louis kneel, and his energy freaks out even more clueless people. Our protagonist doesn't even change his facial expression. After all, he did his whole training arc in the forest like an absolute maniac. He was already used to being scared. This was just another boring Tuesday. Louis walks up to the veteran, totally determined he's about to show the nobles what real bad intentions look like. That's when the extra realized that growing up with Sweden-level quality of life, Louis stopped his strike at the very last second, but it was too late. The playboy, our boy, grabbed the sheet of paper for the next stage. He just didn't expect the veteran to try to get revenge from behind, but growing up, which only made the playboy even more humiliated, since he was getting halved and with zero social investment. The director stepped in too and told the playboy our boy passed the first exam, and that all candidates are treated the same. After the scolding, the playboy apologized. Our protagonist also drew attention because of his hair color, and the director said it was kind of concerning. After all, only Kaka. Louis of course played dumb, saying he didn't get the comment. The director said that if he gets admitted, he'll make a special potion so the kid can. As he walks away, the playboy watches him, dying of jealousy. That was in a huge arena. Everyone's getting ready for the second stage. Only 1,000 pets. Most of them are nobles. One of them bumped into our boy, that same ass, saying nobody's gonna help him this time. The other one, the suck-up, was like, yeah, that's right, and said our boy was gonna die. Louis said they're complete idiots, which made the assholes furious, and our boy said the grandmaster can judge way better than they can. That was more than enough to make the noble want to smash the protagonist's face in. After a few seconds staring him down, he decided he'd try to punch him. Louis only needed 2 fingers to completely humiliate the young noble, who now can't even move his own body. Louis just cut off one of the asshole's meridians. But when it rains shit, it doesn't drizzle. Never forget that he immediately nailed the noble right in the middle of the stomach. The suck-up extras freaked out at the scene. Their leader got thrown back, drawing the attention of other candidates. Meanwhile, the playboy tries to get up, fighting not to shit his pants. He still can't feel his arm, and moving is taking a ton of effort. Now he thinks he's been poisoned. Louis said he used martial arts and had been holding back until now because his mom asked him to, but he's got moral limits too, and if you like hitting people, you better be ready to get hit back. That's the rule. That's when that noble-looking noble grabbed Louis' arm, saying they're still in the middle of the exam that could get him disqualified. Louis backed off, but the nobles kept provoking him. Then the blonde kid asked if they know who he is, saying it all dark and ominous, like some rich mafia guy. The assholes immediately lost their nerve. They decided to leave. They'd had enough humiliation for one day. Lewis thinks all nobles are the same. Using their status to solve problems looks like he's a hypocrite. Because if I had status, my friend, I'd use it even in the bakery line Diddy and Epstein next to me would look like kids. Back to the story. The blonde guy said Lewis is strong and brave. He suggested they team up, if Lewis is down. That offer immediately caught the attention of some girls who'd love to join Kane. Pretty soon, the young noble was surrounded by gold diggers. Some don't even believe he's only 13, since he's so impressive. And Lewis just kinda scoffs at that. A huge magical whirlwind appeared in the arena. It's the director who apparently loves stroking his own ego. Now it's time to test the candidate's strength. A golden symbol appeared on each of their chests. Kane realized it was a mark of the earth attribute. The next second, everyone's bodies became insanely heavy, and while they're dealing with that heavy load, they still have to walk all the way to the arena. Some of them can't even stand up. Then people notice this one kid just strolling around like it's nothing. Even Kane has to take a look. It's our main guy, calmly walking up to the director. Lewis is the first one to finish the test, and the extras are getting more and more shocked. Kane went through 3 years of brutal training to pull that off, and even he knows it's not easy. The director uses magic to put some weapons on display in case the candidates want to use them. Lewis immediately grabs a sword. Now comes the fun part, the violence. Time for them to beat the crap out of each other. The director disappears and tells them to release the slimes, but nobody even knows what that is until a bunch of creatures start falling from the sky. Blocking an attack is worth 1 point. Dodging is 2, defeating 1 is 5. Your score decides your rank. Only 100 move on to the next stage. One of the extras thinks the slimes are super dumb, so he charges in trying to rack up points. But the slime isn't just going to sit there and die, it charges back. The hit is so brutal the guy loses a bunch of teeth, and the slime uses the momentum to change direction and go after its next victim. While everyone's freaking out, even more creatures show up. This is definitely a blast for the examiners. One teacher says that this year they've got kids from the Aranka and Durahan families. They're probably about to set a new record. The professor with glasses says there are some interesting commoners this year too, like our boy. They're hoping he shows something even cooler. And the professor notices that so far Lewis hasn't taken a single step seriously. These extras never stop talking nonsense. They're saying the commoner got scared. A creature heads straight for Lewis, full of rage. Our boy dodges it super easily. The slime still hits other extras. They weren't so lucky. Nobody can figure out how he did that. The creatures are getting bolder, attacking more and more. Lewis can feel several of them closing in. One jealous guy is already hoping something really nasty happens to him. With his eyes closed, we get pulled into a flashback. He asked his buddies to throw rocks at him. Being reasonable, they said that could be really dangerous. Lewis says it's fine. There's something he needs to test. Nervous as hell, the boys decide to go along with this lunatic. In his past life, Lewis came up with a theory and trained his brain to react instantly. That way, in theory, he could dodge any attack. Processing everything, Lewis starts dodging every single rock. His friends think it's insane and ask how he's doing it. Lewis says the technique is called battle void calculation, a technique that predicts what's going to happen. The slimes keep coming, totally determined. Our boy is doing the math. He's basically a physics genius, dodging every creature. Now that he's got some points, it's time to see if this sword actually works. With one slash, 4 creatures get deleted from existence. Kane and the teachers are impressed. Now Kane is 100% sure he needs to befriend this martial artist. Lewis senses another creature coming. Just as he's about to score the points for it, Kane jumps in at the last second. Our protagonist doesn't like that, but Kane completely ignores the complaint. He didn't steal anything from him. He throws the slime's carcass at a few extras and says he stole from them. Now he wants to know if our protagonist will help him steal even more points. Kane says he plans to be near the top and suggests a competition with our protagonist to see who can get more points. Lewis actually likes the sudden confidence and accepts the loser has to obey the winner. Kane has zero problem with that. That asshole noble is furious. They're there to sabotage our protagonist. So it's time to put the plan into action. The jerk takes advantage of the chaos with one of the slimes. Our protagonist manages to kill the creature, but he doesn't see that. Right behind it, a bunch of arrows are coming too. There's a huge impact, and the asshole thinks he finally got our boy, but then he's shocked by what he sees. Lewis catches the arrows with his bare hand. Leaving the jealous idiots completely speechless, Kane gets worried, realizing those assholes are fighting dirty. Even angrier, the assholes decide to fire again, and one of them is going to use his secret technique. Duplicating the arrow, Kane slices all of them out of the air, but he doesn't notice the hidden trick. He's about to get taken out in a brutal way, and a huge amount of blood flew through the air. Our boy defended this noble, but ended up getting hurt in the process. That made Kane really worried, and Lewis knows he's the target of those idiots. The teachers saw that cheap shot. One of them even thought about getting rid of those assholes. The headmaster said it wasn't necessary, since those assholes are so bad they'll get themselves eliminated naturally. Switching his sword stance, Lewis asked Kane if he knows baseball. Another creature is coming straight at our boy, who's basically a physics genius. He smacked the creature with the non-sharp side of his sword, launching the monster like it was a ball, and by pure coincidence it's flying right at the assholes. The hit was so strong one of them got eliminated on the spot, and judging by the damage to his chest, a few ribs are missing too. Kane's intrigued by this game commoners play. Our protagonist knows he still has a few jealous losers to deal with. Lewis figured out his next target, and threw a creature right at him. The impact right to the idiot's face was perfect. He goes flying out of the arena, no teeth and no spot. Only one left now, and the young asshole is terrified. He tells the commoner not to mess with him or the upperclassmen will get revenge. Kane stuck his foot in the guy's path, so head trip right out of the arena. He took the chance to thank Lewis for saving him from that arrow. And now the two of them are starting to build a real friendship. Kane asks if our boy knows the other noble families and says he's from House Aranka. Big families have produced great masters over the years, and they've got a lot of influence. Lewis realizes there must be all kinds of nobles in this land. They keep taking down monsters, which makes the background extras even more nervous, because the available points are running out. Blinded by reckless rage, they decide to focus on the only commoner, saying Master Kane is being attacked, so it's time to help him. Kane this time is ready to use his own sword. He's not going to be careless. Some girls who are definitely main cast material just got introduced. It's time to go after the nobles who look down on their friend Miliana for being poor. Lewis is getting targeted by a bunch of attacks, and if he keeps scoring, it's only going to get worse. That's when he spotted the staff girl and the redhead, who's just as violent. A guy with a seriously sketchy vibe liked what he saw. He carries a giant hammer and loves punching people, because it's way more fun than fighting slimes. He started swinging the hammer like a helicopter rotor, ready to wipe out anyone who got too close. And that's exactly what he does now, taking out a bunch of assholes in the process. One of the teachers is worried about it, but the headmaster loves it. He loves watching kids fight. The teacher next to him says it'll be a problem if all the nobles get eliminated. The headmaster says the academy has its own rules. Public opinion doesn't matter. That's when he appeared in the middle of the arena to end the second exam time to announce the individual scores. Finally, the extra weight on each of them disappeared. Anyone who got hurt is being treated with healing potions. Lewis is really impressed by that mysterious power. And besides being poor, he realizes it's crazy expensive. 3 silver coins. Kane tells our boy to relax. Even though he's a noble, he promises he won't be an asshole to him. Finally, the results are announced to everyone. But our boy's name doesn't show up. The extras think it's insane, and the headmaster says the top 5 beat every previous record. In 5th place is that blue-haired girl. Right after her is the blonde noble. Kane above him is the redhead from the Durahan family. Our protagonist starts getting really nervous, since his name still hasn't been called. Until his score gets announced, 887 points, 2nd place. Leaving everyone completely stunned. Kane admits he lost the bet and asks what he has to do. Lewis says they'll decide later. Above our boy is someone with 888 points, Neil, that weird red-haired guy, who's already super interested in this year's competition. The extras are shocked by how big he is.
Plus sa commune.
The one who didn't like it was the girl from the Durahan family, who wanted to be the best in the competition. The veteran nobles feel insulted, since the younger ones lost to commoners. That's never happened in the Academy's history, and both commoners came from orphanages. But they're funded by the Academy. They do that because real power doesn't care about social status. Now the ones who passed have to move on. Kane wants to know who the strongest commoner is, but our boy isn't interested in that. The final exam is going to happen in a forest. It's a survival test and also a battle royale. Badges were handed out to each candidate, and they'll be dropped somewhere in that forest. The goal is to collect badges. Any method is allowed. If you lose your own badge, you're out. Only the last 10 survivors pass. Kane doesn't want to split up from the protagonist now. He tells his new friend to be careful. Lewis now gets why the last exam's results were done that way, to leave that uncomfortable vibe hanging in the air. The headmaster is way too excited, ready to watch those kids beat the hell out of each other. Lewis walks calmly through the forest, determined to win. He ends up running into one of the nobles, who wants revenge for his social class. Before long, our boy realizes he's surrounded. Some assholes are even hiding up in the trees. Lewis figures out his location was leaked by the event organizers themselves. The first nobody rushes in but can't land a hit. The others are itching to humiliate our boy too, since they can't hit him either. The arrows flying in get blocked as well. Now Lewis is getting pressured from all sides by these worms. Once again he feels that weird, mysterious energy in the air. He has to defend against that attack really carefully. Because he got distracted, he almost gets skewered by one of the idiots. And now the guy won't stop whining, saying the protagonist keeps running away. Lewis realizes he can't predict the trajectory of the magic, so he's going to use the enemy's strength against them. The nobodies go back on the offensive. Lewis was waiting for exactly that. He dodges the first attack, and throws his opponent off balance using just the tip of his sword. The axe goes flying and ends up smashing into another asshole. Yeah, that guy's definitely going blind after that. The one hiding in the trees attacks again. Lewis saw it coming and blocks using one of the extras as a human shield, and uses the chance to grab the spear the guy was carrying. Then he hurls it straight at the archer. After that, our boy makes every one of those worms meet his sword, picking up a bunch of badges in the process. Even after getting beaten, one of the nobles screams, furious, telling everyone to attack again. To his surprise, a mysterious person takes position up in the tree. Kane shows up to help the protagonist. The other nobles freak out, since Kane also had to fight his way through a bunch of enemies. After taking them all down, Kane uses some interrogation to get info, so that's why he decided to help since that loudmouth extra won't shut up. Kane throws a crossbow right at his face. Lewis is glad his new friend is okay. Kane says they're just low-level nobles who only recently learned magic, nothing to worry about. After handing some badges to the protagonist, he says this could get messy, and they should team up. Lewis turns him down, and a girl steps out of the shadows saying she agrees. Because she's super proud, she asks the protagonist to fight her. Kane says the girl, Faye, is the daughter of a grandmaster. Lewis asks if the two of them are friends, and Kane looks visibly offended by that. Kane admits he fought her once and was careless, and the protagonist realizes Kane lost. Faye tells them to stop flirting and start fighting. Kane says she can use magic and is already at apprentice level, so it'd be better to just ignore her. Totally furious, she calls them cowards. But the protagonist accepts her challenge. He's been wanting to see if these noble families are actually that strong. Faye says she'll be fair and won't use magic. Without hesitating, she attacks her spear. Looks like it goes straight through the boy's body, but actually he stops it with one of his arms. To pull her weapon back, Faye spins the spear all the way around, and she keeps pressuring the protagonist like a maniac, ready to end his life in just a few hits. Her strikes are strong enough to tear up the ground. The proctor teachers watch it all. The Durhan family's spear techniques are insane, and the commoner is clearly skilled too, but they don't believe our boy can win. They decide to ask the headmaster what he thinks. He agrees Lewis is probably going to lose, even though he likes him. The fight is a clash of bodies and willpower, and that girl is seriously determined. So far, Lewis has managed to dodge every single one of her blows, which just makes her even angrier. Right then, our main guy managed to spot some miracle equation from modern physics. He used that tiny opening to go on the offensive too. Faye had to change her grip. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to clap anymore. Our protagonist had to dodge the next attack as well. Now that they've paused for a second, Faye's impressed by how well he keeps avoiding her. Lewis tells her it's not that hard, which just makes the girl even more determined. She's going to use her holy spear technique on him, but she didn't count on the protagonist being good at calculations. He knows that weapon's range is a real problem, but there are a bunch of totally deadly flaws in that technique. The biggest weak spot is close range fighting. If our boy can get in fast, he can block the attacks easily. Faye already figured out his plan. She knocks his sword aside and basically proves it won't work. Louis gets a little freaked out by that, and the girl says her spear technique has no flaws, turning into a whirlwind of blades. The teachers are impressed because even her dad took a long time to learn that technique. There won't be anything left of the commoner against everyone's expectations. Louis is defending himself really well. Another weakness of spears is energy buildup. If he keeps defending, an opening will show up, or his sword will break, one of the two. Finally, our protagonist managed to see the missing piece of the calculation. But before he could land a hit on his opponent, his sword decided to quit on him, killing the hype for everyone. Faye thought it was impressive, but she regretted that the sword broke. Our boy realizes he's not that lucky. To make it worse, the girl is sure he was holding back during the fight. Louis says he likes to watch first before using everything he's got. Now he's going to use all his power. It'll be way easier using just his fists. Just from looking at his stance, Faye could tell there wasn't any opening. But it's time to attack again. She charges at him like a drill. Louis waits calmly for the moment of contact. Kane screams from the sidelines, freaking out, saying that technique is deadly and our boy's going to get seriously hurt. Louis immediately starts moving his hands, making Naruto proud. He meets the technique with his bare hands, completely blocking the attack. Now it's the protagonist's time to shine. To everyone watching, he stops the spear using only his hands. Nobody can understand what just happened. And the girl gets even angrier, getting rid of the spear with just a kick. Then she grabs it again right away, creating some distance. Louis is now completely boxed in by her using this super agile technique. It looks like she's going to attack from every direction. Louis has to focus as hard as he can, managing to redirect every single one of those attacks. The headmaster realizes it's a really interesting secret technique. He's never seen anything like it in his life, and to make it worse, there's a commoner pulling it off, and this time, he actually manages to hit the girl. She only doesn't fall because she catches herself with the spear. Even though she isn't hurt, her ego takes a fatal hit. So she asks what kind of terrifying technique that is. Louis says it's just a martial arts defense. He only added a few spins to cancel out the spear's rotation. Time to show how it works in practice. Faye watches the protagonist rush in with crazy speed. She tries to strike, but can't hit him. Our boy is dodging like he can see the future. Kane even has to rub his eyes. It's like he's watching a butterfly. These are techniques our boy learned from boxing in his past life. Taking super light, rhythmic steps, closing in on the girl again, and smashing her in the stomach with all his strength. Faye realizes that cramp she's feeling could literally make her crap her pants. Kane is totally speechless now. Our protagonist is a real monster. Even the headmaster is shocked by what just happened. Even without using magic, there aren't many people who could beat her in that situation. Maybe this kid is a genius at unarmed combat. Faye gets up again, saying the fight still isn't over. Since she comes from a super proud family, she can't give up that easily. This time she's going to attack without using the spear, which is pretty dumb. Our protagonist just waits for the moment of contact. The clash between them happens brutally. Louis ended up with one of his legs hurt. That hit was seriously strong. He complimented the girl's technique. Faye said she doesn't only know how to use a spear. Then she threw a totally overwhelming technique at our boy. But Louis was already ready to take it head on. The two of them were trading blows like they were in Saint Seiya. Louis loves the feeling of fighting someone truly powerful. It's what he's dreamed about his whole life. The more he wants it, the more his heart starts burning. Until his eyes turned red, and this dark energy showed up behind him. Faye has no idea what's happening because it feels like she just saw a demon. Her whole body freezes up from fear. And then she gets hit by the protagonist. Clean, dead on. That freaks the director out pretty badly. Faye goes flying so far that some other background students notice. They didn't expect some random commoner to be able to do that. One of them suddenly gets a brutal headache. For no reason, the guy just throws up from how sick he feels. He also felt that weird, super scary sensation. Those jealous idiots' plan just went straight down the drain. And one of the nobles says that if the legends are true, our boy can't be left alive. Louis charges at Faye again, ready to give her a real beatdown. She manages to block some hits using the bones in her face. But it's not very effective. Our protagonist is getting more and more furious. Faye does everything she can to defend, realizing his power has shot up a lot. She's getting completely crushed. And at this rate, she's basically about to get invited to stop living in a really painful way. As a last resort, she uses her magic techniques. And she manages to block his attack. But the impact is way too violent. Faye gets launched back, smashing through a bunch of trees in the process. Lewis seems to snap back to normal. Not even sure what just happened. Maybe that was magic. Right then, Kane shows up, asking if everything's okay. One of the assholes shows up too, saying our boy lost his emblem and now he's disqualified. Lewis realizes the emblem on his chest actually caught fire. That noble jerk tries to kick him out, and Kane does his best to defend him, saying it was an accident. Since the director saw everything, the jerk thinks he's got the upper hand. So he tells our boy again to get out. They get interrupted by Faye, who's seriously beaten up. To Lewis' surprise, she's still alive. The asshole extra asks if she's gonna interfere, but she just tells him to shut up. She knows his emblem got burned and apologizes for it, since she used magic by accident. Kane can't even believe she apologized. With Lewis apologizing like crazy, she says that in the future they'll duel again, once they've been accepted. That makes the jerk laugh at them because he thinks they're both getting eliminated. Faye tears off a piece of her clothes and gives it to Lewis as a gift, a reward for beating her. Now he has 14 emblems. That should fix the fact that he lost his own during the fight with her. She's also not happy that weak people still haven't been eliminated from the competition. After picking up her spear, she asks what'll happen if Lewis wants to collect more emblems. Kane says it's a perfect coincidence because he was thinking the same thing. So the two of them head out, fired up, ready to collect more emblems. An instructor comes up to our boy. He says Lewis is eliminated for losing his emblem. The jealous kid gets left behind, still bitter and wanting revenge. Since there are only a few candidates, if Faye eliminates more people, our boy will end up getting accepted. Don't ask me the logic, I didn't get it either. Those nobles are full of envy, wishing our boy was dead. And on top of that weird feeling one of them had earlier, now he knows what Lewis really is. Our boy comes to the conclusion that he needs to learn magic too. And if he gets into this academy, he'll combine his martial skills with magic. Now he needs to go back home, but his clothes are wrecked. He doesn't know how to explain that to his mom. Telling the truth will just make her worry more. While he's thinking about that, a mysterious man sneaks up behind him, ready to finish him off. But the attack gets stopped. Lewis grew up in the slums. He's got street smarts. The assassin doesn't even know how he got noticed. And Lewis says he smelled blood, it wasn't even covered up. More assassins reveal themselves, ready to take our guy out. Lewis realized these enemies are skilled, he can't take it easy anymore. Especially with the one still hiding in the shadows. One of the villains took advantage of Lewis being distracted and attacked, ready to end it all. Lewis managed to dodge the assassin thanks to his martial arts skills. After grabbing his attacker's sword, he slammed the guy to the ground. But he had to dodge the next hit too, which came in all sneaky. Superhuman reflexes and can throw hands, the assassin said about our boy. The intel was right now, it's time for them to use magic to attack. Magic arrows were fired at Lewis, he managed not to get hit. But he saw them punch through wood like it was nothing. So Lewis is gonna use another one of his techniques. He's gonna gather his inner energy and release it in a brutal, violent burst. Now Lewis is boosted in power and speed, charging straight at the arrows and dodging every single one. Our boy is now right up in the assassin's faces, ready to dish out a whole lot of pain. The first one, after getting kicked, decided to pay tribute to Vegeta and left with a broken little arm. Lewis had to dodge a few more arrows, until one of the enemies tried to catch him from behind. Our boy blocked the attack, but it hurt like hell. After creating some distance, he realized this enemy is a bit stronger than the others. Lewis is completely surrounded by these thugs, feeling like a hamburger in Somalia. Now he's dodging a bunch of magical attacks, until he finally dropped to the ground, exhausted. which, for the assassins, is perfect, since they were getting tired of burning magic just to shoot arrows too. Time to finish off the commoner. But Louis' eyes lit up again. He grabbed the assassin's weapon and struck him right in the throat. It looked simple, but it basically wrecked the guy's vertebrae with the weapon in hand. Louis fired a few times at the assassins, hitting some of them. Only the one who seemed like the boss stayed alive. And he said the kid really is impressive. Louis noticed this enemy is ice cold. His underlings got killed and he doesn't even flinch. Trying to hit him with the arrows, our boy missed every shot. If this weren't a job, the assassin would have liked to take Louis as his student. The protagonist had to block a hit from that dark hammer. He got launched through the forest like he'd just been hit for a home run. Still in midair, he ran into the evil ninja again. The guy brags that he's on a higher level as a fighter. Time to end this, and he smacked Louis again with that cursed hammer. The ninja from the hidden village of Envy attacks again. When the dust cleared, he saw his target was still alive. Truth is, the protagonist's not-so-normal body is already pretty wrecked. Once again, the ninja from the hidden village of Plagiarism attacked. He formed this massive shadow structure, saying not even God could save the kid now. Even if he wanted to, the dark energy comes rushing in like a freight train. Louis realizes he can't die. He still has too much to do. His eyes turned red with rage. Full of energy, he attacks too, saying he's going to survive. The two energies collide like stars. The dark ninja wasn't expecting anything like that. After the huge shockwave, Louis tries to crawl along the ground, coughing like crazy. The ninja walks up, saying that was weird. He thought he was fighting someone on his level. Now he gets why his client asked for this job. Time to finish the kid off because he's a monster. At the last second, someone decided to step into the fight. The ninja had to dodge the attack or he would have been torn to pieces. Trying to jump up, he saw he'd been completely surrounded. And then he got absolutely blasted. Louis still doesn't know who helped him. That's when the academy director showed up. He admitted the kid didn't lose control, pushed through that mess, but now he needs to take a tonic to recover. The director looks again at the assassin's body. He wants to know who put out that contract. With barely any life left, the ninja asks if the Grandmaster is really going to protect this monster because he's only the beginning. After delivering that message, the assassin's body completely exploded. The director realizes this is serious. Judging by how professional the assassin was, he's dealing with dangerous people. Louis was impressed by that healing potion. Even his broken bones were fixed. Our boy knows the director didn't show up there by coincidence. It's time for him to say why he always saves him in situations like this. But the director said they'll talk at the boy's house. What really freaked our protagonist out was that it was already super late, and his mom must be worried sick. He sprinted ahead, but before leaving that place, the headmaster spoke to a little creature and told it to clean everything up. Back in the protagonist's town, his mom is getting harassed by a few nobles. They say she shouldn't have fixed that mill to pay less tax. Now it's time for her to pay with her own body. The asshole who suggested that ended up losing a few teeth, because our protagonist showed up just in time to save the day, making his mom insanely happy. But she quickly got worried when she saw the state of his clothes. Besides being totally wrecked, they're also covered in blood. One of the nobles who got beat up is the same guy who was messing with the kid during the exam, and he says the protagonist is in trouble now. They're going to report all of this to the Lord. When the headmaster shows up too, saying there's been a misunderstanding. Having a real grandmaster there scares those cowards stiff. In a threatening tone, he tells them to send his regards to the Lord. The assholes immediately bow their heads. As they run off, the grandmaster goes to talk to the protagonist's mom, because he has something to tell her. Now everyone's inside the house. The headmaster looks at the millstone the nobles were talking about. It moves on its own. And apparently a lot of things around there work like that. The nun says the protagonist made all those gadgets. She has no idea how they work. Now she wants to know if her son caused trouble, and the headmaster says it's the opposite. The boy has incredible talent, something he's only ever seen in Gaia's holy scriptures. Back when humanity was ruled by monsters, a great genius appeared. He created arcane martial arts, and together with his companions, freed humanity. That day became a holiday liberation day. In the scriptures, he's called the first hero. The nun is amazed by the story. Lewis says that in other people's histories there isn't even a hero figure like that. The headmaster says the hero shows up in a different form. A man with black hair and dark eyes. But that's a huge secret. Only humanity's leaders have access to it. The hero saved everyone, but madness took over his heart and he lost control. He committed unforgivable sins and was erased from human history. That inner madness comes from a curse. Now the protagonist is wondering if he carries it too. That's why people with black hair and dark eyes are killed at birth. The protagonist isn't going to hide who he is just by dyeing his hair. His mom is really shaken by that. She was the one who told him to do it, and she says her son is a good person. Lewis tells her to calm down. If the headmaster wanted to get rid of him, he could have done it plenty of times already. The Grand Mage is shocked by how wise the kid is, and that he managed to control that inner madness too. He says the boy has what it takes to become a new hero. Even if the world looks peaceful, a huge darkness is always lurking. The headmaster used to think the legends were nonsense, but now he wants to guide the protagonist down the right path to save humanity. Thanks to Faye and Kane's efforts, a lot of candidates were eliminated. In other words, the kid passed, and the headmaster wants to know if the protagonist wants to become his personal student. Lewis likes that bet, and asks what happens if the kid loses control. In the blink of an eye, the headmaster slices the apple Lewis is holding clean in half. He says that if the boy ever loses control, he'll also end his own existence. The next day, one of the protagonist's friends is shocked that he got an invitation from the headmaster.
That's a massive honor.
But the protagonist wants to know what the headmaster's connection is to that place's history, and the so-called hero. Since the headmaster saw through his disguise immediately, Lewis also asks why his mom had to hear all that. The headmaster says he did it to take the weight off all of them. The truth is, his family will be in danger once people learn the truth. It's time for the boy to get stronger. Those hardships were only the beginning. Lewis agrees with all of it. The next day, a bunch of snot-nosed kids run up to Lewis. The little girl doesn't like hearing that he's leaving the orphanage. But the boy promises he'll come back during breaks to visit everyone. And the girl makes him promise for real with a pinky swear, until someone tells him a noble's butler is waiting for him. A huge carriage is parked outside. That's the Aranka family's butler, and the young master invited our boy to come see the mansion. After reading a letter, Lewis realizes Kane wants to strengthen their friendship before classes start. So he accepts the invitation. They head to another city. Lewis is blown away by how massive the place is. Kane is already outside, excited to welcome our fighter. He's really happy they're going to be classmates. Lewis admits he only passed because of Kane, so he's grateful. And since they couldn't fight during the exam, Kane wants to spar with him a few times, especially because he needs to learn more about magic and the academy. That's when an intimidating girl shows up asking what all the noise is and who this stranger is. She's Kane's mother. Kane says Lewis is a friend, but she's even more threatening and basically tells him to shut up. She says Kane should choose his friends carefully. Aranka House isn't a place just anyone should walk into. A commoner isn't worthy of it. It's a waste of time. Then she asks Lewis why he got close to her son and if he's trying to get money or power through him. She throws a ring at the boy, saying it's enough money for him to live off for the rest of his life. Now he should leave. She says it like she's totally sure of herself. Kane is completely embarrassed, not understanding why his mom would do that. But Lewis stays polite, bows, and says he became friends with Kane because he recognized Kane's skill. Then he picks up the ring from the floor and asks if she really thinks Kane is worth that little. Annoyed, she orders the guards to throw the commoner out. Kane tries to stop them and says his friend is more talented than he is, and that he broke all the exam records. But his mom is stubborn and thinks she's just hearing lies. Lewis says that if he stays close, Kane can become even stronger. that makes the witch lose it, until the alpha of the house walks in. He hears the part about his son getting stronger, and that catches his interest. Just seeing William makes the woman change her tone immediately. She walks up to him trying to explain herself, but he completely ignores her. Cain bows to his father respectfully. Louis introduces himself too, and feels an aura just as intense as the headmaster's. William asks if what Louis said is true, and the boy confirms it. Now it's time to prove it. William releases his energy at full force. Louis feels a terrifying, overwhelming killing intent. He can barely breathe. Then he realizes it doesn't feel like intent anymore. Feels way too real. Louis feels like his chest just got pierced by a cannonball. It's a horrifying force of will, and Louis feels like his soul is being torn apart. But that's what you'd expect from a grandmaster. Thanks to the training he's done over the last few years, he manages to block that malicious pressure. Now our boy starts gathering all his power. It begins to flare up around his body, and William is visibly impressed. Because what he's seeing is the will of that little commoner, fighting Hedon against the will of the lord of the house. Their power crashes together like two furious beasts, until it finally ends, and our protagonist drops to his knees. Cain rushes to help him, both of them breathing hard, more and more interested in this commoner. The family head asks why he wants to become stronger. Louis says he wants to protect the people he loves. Leaving the boys behind, William says his son's willpower is weak, and it's time for him to learn from this commoner, which completely humiliates Cain's mother. William asks if she has anything to say, but she stays totally silent. With things settled, Cain calls Louis over to the training field. They've got a full setup there. Cain apologizes for what happened. Louis lets it go too, making it clear the worst part was dealing with Cain's dad. Cain says his father is someone who values merit above everything. Louis would be a much better son to him, but Louis knows he was only tested because of Cain. That's also a way of showing affection. Cain thinks hard about that. He's barely ever left the mansion, even as a kid. His memories are simple: train, eat, sleep. His father always wanted him to become a great sage, like his grandfather once was. Even without really understanding it, the kid kept doing it because he wanted his own dad to finally acknowledge him. Cain feels like he's living in a huge prison since everything needs a guard watching over it, and he's also surrounded by a bunch of suck-ups. What he wanted most was a normal life, free to fly like a bird. But sadly, that's not the life he gets, since strength is everything in this world. He doesn't even want to keep getting stronger. But every time he swings his sword, Cain gets a little closer to breaking all those chains. His father graduated from the academy too. Cain's going to do the same to get even stronger, so he can earn permission to live freely. And for that, he's counting on our protagonist. William asked for a detailed investigation. The butler said the kid isn't normal. He used unknown techniques during the exam. He also managed to beat Faye in a fight, even with her using magic. On top of that, the director clearly likes him a lot. He even fought off assassins to protect him. William realizes this kid is surrounded by trouble, and the butler asks him why he allowed it. But William's only thinking about one thing: how much his son could grow by being around that kid. Right now, Cain is pushing himself even harder. William admits his son might actually be better than him at judging people. The patriarch says this while watching the fight. Louis almost crushed his new friend's face, but he still had to dodge a sword strike. That strike was sped up with magic. Still, it was way too easy to read. Cain didn't expect to get shut down like that. Now he gets why Faye lost too. After taking the boy's sword, Louis asked if Cain doesn't feel like something's missing from that fighting style. Cain said he learned secret techniques passed down through generations in his family. Our protagonist told him there's another way. That threw the kid into a full-on crisis. Louis put away the sword they'd been using. Then he pulled out a small dagger and asked if Cain really wants to surpass his father. William is watching more and more closely. The two young guys decided to attack him without warning. In martial arts, speed is the most absolute weapon there is. It's not just about moving fast. It's reaction time too. And decision making. And Kane's speed matches the wind attribute really well. And thrusting attacks are hard to master. Just because his grandpa did it doesn't mean he should copy it. William became a top-tier master because of that, for fuck's sake. Our protagonist just told him the truth. If Kane wants to be stronger, he needs to adapt more. Lewis asked if he's ready for that. Kane said he's not like those other nobles. Arrogant and lazy, hell do whatever it takes to be free. Lewis said the secret is footwork, hit and get out. It's time to show his father the skill and determination Kane's got. So the two of them decided to attack. Kane speeds up his movement with wind magic. The butler is worried, but William signals that it's fine. He dodges the kid's strike. And he's already ready to do the same with Lewis. Daggers are fast weapons and super flexible. Using his movement, Lewis tries to circle his target. William is actually a little impressed. But he keeps dodging without much effort. Kane closes in again with his wind magic. Now both of them are trying to hit the same target. Kane is amazed at how light his movements feel. With the daggers, his body feels weightless. It's almost like he's a bird too. He loves the feeling and picks it up fast. William can tell things are getting intense. He almost gets caught off guard by Kane and his new skill. But the moment they get too close, he releases this nasty, sinister pressure. He asks if Kane is really throwing away the family techniques just to prove his willpower. That's a naive strategy. After getting pushed back, the boys rush in again, trying to box William in for the next attack. But nothing they try seems to work. William asks if that's all they've got. And he almost manages to hold his son back with one hand. Now he decides to go on the offensive. Ready to end this, Kane remembers Lewis' advice. Running away isn't always weakness, it's strategy. And when he stops running, he surprises his father with an attack. Kane shoots past him with his wind technique. With Lewis at his side, he's ready to strike again. Now William is cornered. Earlier, Lewis talked about a quick switch strategy. Changing the weapon in your hand can be really unpredictable. And you can do it with fast movement too, to throw your opponent off. This helps when you're setting up feints and baiting someone. William's getting pressured by the brats now. Kane managed to get close to him, throwing a really slow attack. That's when William realized it was already too late. Had been tricked. Kane clipped part of the patriarch's coat. But the fight wasn't over yet. They were ready to keep proving themselves. Until William said that was enough. Then he called his own son over. And told him not to bring shame on the family. Kane was super fired up and said he'd never do something like that. William started breaking down that attack style. Lots of different feints using daggers plus using retreating as a tactic. And he actually found it all really interesting. He didn't expect to learn that from the kid. Lewis liked the practice and was bummed it ended. This was the first time Kane got acknowledged by his father. And he was really happy about it. Now he wants to give Lewis a gift for helping him. Inside a library, our boy got shown a bunch of books. Kane said again that he wouldn't have found his own path without help. And he handed Lewis some seriously valuable stuff. Books about the academy. And magic books commoners never get to see in their whole lives. It's basically the fundamentals of magic and martial arts. Pretty wild. One of them talks about the magical awakening ritual. Kane did it at Gaia's sanctuary. Costs 10 gold coins. Lewis knows that's like years of the orphanage's budget. There's no way he can pay that. Kane said at the academy he can do it for free. So he gave him those gifts to help him out. Now he wants to know if the promise between them counts as fulfilled. Lewis said yeah, but he realized he needs more money. He thought about going into pharmacy since it pays well. But then he realized he could use knowledge from his past life. Make new stuff and earn money that way. Lewis asked if that family has connections with merchants, saying that soon his friend would find out why he asked that. A week later, the academy admission ceremony happened. Lewis is happy wearing the school uniform. His smell caught a girl's attention. She figured our protagonist must be rich. So she came up to him all interested, ready to show him around. Lewis thanked her and introduced himself, not recognizing his last name. The gold digger type figured he must be some rich guy's bastard kid. After the emperor got old, the heirs started clashing with the nobility. And that spills into the academy too. The headmaster tries hard, but the place is kind of a mess. It's an endless fight for power and resources. Students who can't get credits get kicked out. She told Lewis to keep working hard, and asked which side his family is backing right now. Then someone cut into their conversation, recognizing the commoner. Brian said it's a pleasure to meet our boy, the spectacular commoner. The girl got disappointed hearing that, because he smelled like rich people. She stormed off, thinking Shed wasted her time. Brian said the academy is a mini version of the empire. There are always people trying to get something. Kane showed up right after 2, looking for our boy. Brian went to talk to the other freshmen and told them to come to him if they needed help. But he's a schemer too, and he's got his own interests. Kane wanted to know what they were talking about. Lewis said it was nothing important. Kane said the guy's the chancellor's son, but they're not close. The red-haired girl said he's decent, and surprised both of them by showing up. Miliana is with her too. Our boy thanked her for helping during the exams. But she said he earned it himself still. Next time she'll be the one winning. Kane clearly doesn't like her. He always feels challenged by her. Miliana reminded her friend they need to hurry up and register. Then Kane handed Lewis a pretty full bag, his share. He followed our boy's instructions and they made some perfumes. Kane doesn't know if ITLL actually make money, but our protagonist is confident. Since they sold well and were pricey, Kane wants to give one to his mom as a gift. That's a secret between them. Now it's time to focus on the academy. Lewis got a credit card, and the instructor told him he hopes Lewis becomes a great master someday. Some background students don't like having a commoner there. They heard about Sheath getting expelled, the guy who paid assassins to take Lewis out. That asshole has an older brother named Jess. And that idiot already has his eye on our protagonist. Jess thinks it's going to be really fun. He's going to make our boy slowly lose his mind. In a big hall, the new students were welcomed by the headmaster. And now we see it was all a lie. There are way more students here than the number who actually passed. They're supposed to feel proud to be there. This is the start of their lives. They need to keep pushing themselves to become stronger and more talented. Now it's time for the freshman rep to give a speech. Neil the buff guy walks in, naked. Nobody was expecting the size of that commoner. One of the teachers got pissed, but the headmaster held him back. Neil tells everyone to listen up. His goal is to beat everyone, no exceptions. The students feel intimidated and furious. Neil keeps going, saying everyone's weak and he's the only strong one there. For the teachers, having to teach someone like him is going to be a problem. Neil says he's got a main target and he throws his axe at him. It lands at the feet of someone very special. Our protagonist, obviously, who was not expecting all that attention. Neil says they're going to fight. Our boy looks like he took the bait. He actually wants to. Kane steps between them, saying the ceremony's still going. Neil asks if our boy is scared, just like the loudmouth standing next to him. A dog that only knows how to bark. Kane hated that. Unable to hold back his anger, he goes to punch that cocky extra. But our protagonist grabs his hand and tells his friend to calm down. Neil says he can take both of them at the same time since they're cowards. Brian comes over too, knowing both of them are talented, and suggests they try to get along. Selfish guys like Neil can end up screwing themselves over in a place like this. The redhead just tells him to get lost. He's not interested in weaklings. Brian's offended too. And the other students want to see things get nasty since Neil is just a commoner. Nothing more. Kane says some people only learn the hard way. Neil's ready to throw down, but a teacher stops him. That place has rules for duels and doing it like that isn't allowed. People who break the rules usually get expelled. Neil immediately calms down since he doesn't want to get kicked out. He says the fight will have to wait a little longer, but he promises he'll meet Lewis sooner or later. The teacher ends the ceremony. The rest of the day is free for the students. Our boy doesn't get why he got all that attention. Kane says it's all that annoying girl's fault. Faye gets mad at the comment. But honestly, it is her fault because she fought him in the last exam. Time ran out, so it was a draw, but Neil heard the rumors about her losing to Lewis. She's relieved a huge mess didn't break out right there. Kane tells them to get out of there now, because it looks like they've got everyone's eyes on them after what happened. At the academy shop, Lewis realizes everything is crazy expensive. But the clerk says they've got cheap stuff too, like a pillow for 30 silver coins. But the more she shows him, the more awkward Lewis feels. Kane insists it's all cheap and that money and credit at that academy are a big deal. Lewis buys the starter kit for 100 silver coins. Good thing he made a profit selling perfumes. The rest he's going to send to the orphanage. Since potions are essential for training, he needs to keep getting richer. The red-headed girl is leaving, but she knows that tomorrow will be Lewis' awakening ceremony. All our boy can think about right now is making money. In the dorm, he's looking for his room and really hopes he doesn't have to share with some weirdo. He sees something going on in one of the rooms. Someone's throwing stuff out into the hallway. A bunch of jerks are arguing like crazy. In the middle of them is a young guy, totally silent. One of them grabs the kid by the collar, asking if he wants to fight. Then someone taps the jerk's arm with a fingertip. He feels something weird in his arm. Lewis did that to warn him that fighting is forbidden there. Little by little, the jerks start backing off. But the guy who got stung in the arm is furious and ready to hit back. Our protagonist blocks. And he even makes the jerk accidentally hit one of his own buddies. Lewis uses the moment to say he didn't hit anyone and that he has witnesses. The jerks keep arguing because they can't even tell what just happened. Lewis touches one of their legs, and the guy automatically kicks another one of the jerks. They're getting more and more confused. Our boy touches another jerk, who feels something strange all over his body. Not long after, they're all hurt and completely confused. They're saying it's all our main guy's fault. But Lewis said he didn't do anything and shouldn't be blamed for it. Then one of them decided to call Lewis a monster, which made our boy furious. But right then, the gentle kid decided to actually do something. Lewis realized he shouldn't do anything else. So he said that if those students needed to complain about something, they should go talk to the principal together. The assholes changed their minds immediately and decided to run off. Lewis introduced himself to his new roommate. The guy didn't say anything, but judging by the stuff he was carrying, his name must be Kara. Lewis was a little confused. Then the door got shut right in his face. That dude is really weird. He completely ignored Lewis. Even though it was the first day at the academy, it was way too intense. Out in the hallways, someone's plotting something dangerous and pretty suspicious.